if we want to build true awareness, one email is not going to do it. I don't think that changing that marketing mindset in an organization is as quick as just saying, just do it. If you're going to talk about marketing, talk about marketing. If you're going to talk about communications, talk about communications. But don't just put it together into a buzzword that generally means nothing. And it is an absolute game changer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. I've got a very, very special episode for you today because I'm not on my own and I'm not with Ash. I am with the wonderful Emma Hunter from Capgemini. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of proactive marketing in L&D rather than that reactive that we all seem to fall into the bucket of, don't we, Emma? So, Emma, hi. Welcome to the Marketing for Learning podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited.
I do think, and I'm really sorry for Paula when she listens to this, because I know you two have got a bit of a war on. I think you might be our biggest fan. I've seen inside Capgemini. I've seen how much you share the Marketing for Learning podcast with all of your
spreading pineapples far and wide, Hannah.
Yeah, it was one of your colleagues that told me that pineapples are really, really negatively looked upon in, I think it was Brazil. And I was know. That's not great.
Who'd have thought? They're the best ones ever.
So we've got to be careful not to waffle a lot. Emma and I are cut from the same cloth, guys. We have hilarious conversations weekly. We'll try to keep it on track for you today. So tell us a little bit about you and your experience.
All right. So I am currently what's called the head of the Creative Centre of Competence for Capgemini Global Learning and Development, which is possibly the longest job title I've ever had.
That's nice and snappy.
But breaking it down, it means that I'm responsible for both the design and the marketing of all of the global learning and development products in Capgemini. Now, you might have heard of Capgemini and some people might not have. I know that you didn't before we started working together, Han.
No.
But it's a massive global organisation. And once you've heard of the name, you see it everywhere. But even at such a big corporate organisation, we have the same struggles as everybody else. And it's so real when we look at that corporate environment. But I'm actually a marketeer through and through. I first heard about Maslow and his lovely hierarchy of needs back in the middle of the 1990s. And I've been working with them ever since. I did a marketing postgraduate career. I went through L'Oreal for many, many years. And I've had that very traditional marketing track. And then I fell into learning probably only a couple of years ago. And I had that brain moment of that kind of lightning bolt of why aren't learners, or why aren't the learning organizations running it like a marketing organization? I don't get it. And then I discovered you guys, and you guys were saying exactly the same things as I was.
Well, we had the exact same light bulb moment, but we were in the marketing teams of learning tech organizations and selling the tech and going, well, yeah, our clients are saying, oh, well, this isn't quite right, or we're not getting enough engagement. Well, yeah, the tech's not going to solve that problem.
No, it's never going to solve that problem. Yeah.
I'm eternally grateful for Ash just going, hey, I'm going to fix this and make it mass, because that's why we're here today. And that's why we're having this conversation. But
phenomenal.
As a marketer, it seems such an obvious problem, doesn't it?
It is so obvious, and it's staring you in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the work that I was doing in L'Oreal so many years ago. But everything that they do is planned out. It's proactive. It's well thought of. And it's driven in this kind of campaign approach that's just drip fed throughout the year. And it doesn't matter whether it's like a promotion of one particular product, or if it's the whole brand, or whatever it is. You think about it, you plan it, you act on it, and then you analyze the data to feed back into the promotion for the next time. And then you go into learning environments, and all of a sudden people are saying, oh, hang on a minute, we've got this launch that's going out next week. Let's send an email. And you just think, how could that be so different?
And it's worse than just sending an email, isn't it? It's not just a good email. You're sending there's a new course on the LMS. Like, it's not engaging. It's not getting
Never.
anyone's attention. So L&D, and I think there has been a change. And obviously with your role, you're probably like a poster child, because you do make sure that
Oh,
all of
thanks.
your learning interventions are properly marketed, and we'll touch on that after. But there's a shift. I
Yeah,
know L&Ders are thinking more about how we communicate, but it's still quite reactive, isn't it?
it's massively reactive. And it's so interesting to see, I'm constantly challenging my team and our organization. Um, I have the can you just, I hate the can you just, or as somebody in our team calls it, the JFDIs, they just do it. It's these kind of reactive moments, and they detract from all of the positive stuff that you could be doing if you adapted a positive marketing mindset, or sorry, a proactive marketing
Yeah.
mindset. So if you look at the reactive stuff, that is the traditional, okay, we've got a product coming out. How do we quickly get that out? And you're not really thinking about that strategy. You're not thinking about that long-term approach of saying, actually, if we want to build true awareness, one email is not going to do it. So how do we build these really proactive campaigns? And really importantly, how do we tie that into the business ambitions of what the business wants to achieve? But also, how do you make sure that you're drip feeding that constant kind of awareness campaigns with the employees to make sure that you're hitting those moments that matter for them?
Yeah.
Because unless you link it into a moment that matter, it's never going to resonate. It's never going to drive any awareness or impact. So you can't do that if you're just constantly reacting to the
Yeah.
business with a can you just request.
And if we flip it on the head, because I know a lot of L&Ders are like, well, we're serving the business, and yes, we need to cater to our audience's needs, but we need to cater to the business first. I genuinely, we're taking compliance training out of this, cannot think of a single learning intervention that a business would want someone to just go, yep, done it, tick box, goodbye.
Yeah,
Learning is long term. Learning is about a behavioral change. It's about performance change. It's about acquiring new skills. And we all know, as people in learning, that doesn't happen overnight. So
no,
why do we think marketing on such a ad hoc, quick, send out an email, hope for the best basis works? And I genuinely believe, and I know I've spoken to you and your team at length about this, the solution to that problem is talking about marketing from the start. The
absolutely.
very, very start. So I know you work with a lot of people that have got a lot of experience in L&D. How did you handle that? Because you were already doing that before I rocked up. So how did you handle changing that mindset?
That's been a massive change of mindset over a very long time. And to be honest, I think we're still going through that. And I think we will still be going through it in 5 years' time. I don't think that changing that marketing mindset in an organization is as quick as just saying, just do it, When I joined, we didn't have a marketing department. We had a Marcoms department.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally, Marcoms is a bit of a bugbear to me, because if you're going to talk about marketing, talk about marketing. If you're going to talk about communications, talk about communications. But don't just put it together into a buzzword that generally means nothing. Okay.
They're
So
two such different things.
they are two such different things. And for me, the Marcoms approach, we were just email monkeys. That's all we were, it was that reactive, let's send out another email. Oh, you want another email? Ping, there you go, have another one. And that's all we were doing. And from the get-go, it was about trying to change a mindset in from the leadership team downwards,
Yeah.
by saying, actually, if you integrate that marketing thinking and a marketeer right from that define and discover moment of a project, then we are able to build up that strategy rather than chasing our tails right at the end, trying to work it out, whatever it is you're trying to communicate and get something out. And by getting people to realize, by incorporating marketing right from that define and discover moment of a product development cycle, we're able to build out, what does it mean for the personas? What does it mean for the strategy? How can we build up a better visual identity? How can we build up a really good marketing campaign that we can start building awareness with teasers, and then with the launch campaign, and then going forward with aligning with group comms of all people, and as soon as the organization started to see what it meant if we included marketing earlier, it's like a light bulb moment for them, because all of a sudden they're starting to see, actually, we can be more proactive and we can come out with better solutions. And so all of a sudden we've gone into this thing where we've built out from a very small comms team into quite a large marketing function now, where we have one marketeer specifically looking after a group of almost a skills portfolio. And that person is becoming an expert in that skills portfolio. That person is being part of the project team right from the get-go. And it is an absolute game changer. And if you look at some of the projects that we're working on with you, you can see how that interaction really does work when you're working with the LX designers and you're working with the project managers at the same time. You've got this core team where everybody's an expert and everybody's contributing right from the get-go. And that's super exciting.
Absolutely. And I think from my personal experience working on some of those projects with you guys, it's not a difficult task to educate people on why it's important. So I'm thinking of one particular conversation with one of your project leads and a project manager and a member of your marketing team. They're like, oh, but we need to send more emails. I was like, we don't. And I explained, well, actually, no, these are instead of the emails, because you've got a huge audience. They get too many emails already. Let's not add to the noise. We save the emails for the times that it needs to be an email. Email is absolutely a really valued part of any marketing, let alone marketing for learning with targeting employees. But there was so much other stuff. And it was the educational piece of, this isn't just fun stuff. This isn't just fluffy stuff. The project I'm thinking on with creating a video is still in process. That video is not just to look pretty and go, hey, look, we created a video. It's an actual marketing asset that's going to make people move, make people do something. And as soon as that was explained, the request for, oh, can we just send out an email? Can we just send out this? Can we just, like you said,
Can we
just seem to have really slowed down.
Yeah.
But it's having the confidence. And I wonder, obviously now you have a big marketing team. And like I've said many times on the podcast, I live in a dream world where one day all L&D teams will at least have one marketer to help with that marketing piece. What was it like when it was back at the Marcom stage? How was that educational piece? Because I think a lot of people will be sat here listening and thinking, that sounds like a dream, but I'm never going to get there.
Yeah, it was really tough. And again, I'd say that the challenges we've got today are probably still the challenges we had then. But it's about that commitment from the get-go to push back, to challenge, and to do things better. Just as you said then, even though we've gone through this transformation journey over the last couple of years about really reacting as a marketing department, we're still getting challenged today about, can you just send an email? And I said, in 5 years' time, we're still going to be challenged of, can you just send an email? Because it's quick, it's easy, and it's comfortable. So we still had those challenges, but being able to turn around and say, I truly believe this is the best thing for the organization. Just let me try it. Let me fail gloriously or succeed gloriously. And having the organization's trust to do something a little bit different was all that it took. Take one example, just take one project, one product, and say, if I'm just going to try it on this one, what could I do with it? And it's when people start to seeing the success that all of a sudden they want it more.
Yeah.
So start small, but think big. And it comes back to that, again, that proactive marketing. For me, I am applying proactive marketing every day. So I am not just thinking about that one product or that portfolio or what's going on this year or what's going on with our learning brand. In my head, I also have that massive plan of that marketing for learning strategy of, in 5 years' time, what could we be doing if? And that's the really exciting bit. And that, to be honest, was the moment of, in those Marcoms times when I was in that team and trying to make change, being able to find somebody like you guys who were saying the same things as I was is absolutely crucial for an organization, because I was able to say, this isn't just me. This isn't just me saying that this is what you want to do. Listen to Ashley, listen to Hannah. This is what's going around here, and this is significant change. And having somebody else to be able to get your back and say that was probably one of the biggest moments where I was able to say, we're going to do this, and you've got the confidence because you've got this little pineapple sitting on your shoulder saying you can.
I love that. And I think also it's important because obviously, yes, we do work together now and we've worked together on projects. You'd done a lot of that with just the podcast, hadn't you? You were just sending out episodes and sending out pieces of work that we'd done to say, hey, look, like this is a change. This is a movement. This is something that's happening and we need to be doing it. So it's not a case of, oh, you got to work with us. And then, because again, I know a lot of people perhaps don't have the budget. They don't have the capacity, things like that. That's fine. It's like you said, it's that determination of this
Purely
is the right thing to do.
And I always say, even now, because I'm still sharing podcasts, I'm still telling people to go and listen to your podcast. I was talking to somebody just the other day from outside of the organization who had had met somebody within our team at a learning event, and that person in our team said, oh, you need to speak to Emma. And I had this call with this guy, and the first thing I said to him was, you've got to listen to these podcasts because it will change your game. And it does, but I always say the same thing. You've got to start at episode 1 and work your way through, because it's a journey. And for me, I've been working on it for about 5 months before I'd even discovered Marketing for Learning podcasts. And it was someone in my team who came back from a learning conference and just went, somebody was mentioning these podcasts. I just wondered if you might want to check it out. And I listened to your first one about awareness problem. And I was like, that's what I've been saying for the last 5 months, And so, like you said, it's that pure determination to make a change. And it doesn't matter how big or small that change is. It's just making that positive change. And you can't do that by constantly responding to the can you just requests.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that, you're being reactive, you're being a comms person, and I have no problem with comms people at all, because what they do is absolutely crucial. But if you want to really drive impact, if you want to drive awareness, let alone engagement, let's start off with the strategy and really think about that long term of how are you embedding those moments that matter into your employees. And emails aren't going to cut it. I often say to my team, like, if you're writing an email, I will quite happily send it back to them and say, I've got to the first 2 sentences and I've turned off. Do it again. Because unless I'm thinking as an employee and I'm reading those emails, for me, if it doesn't hook me straight away, I don't care what the rest of it says. I'm not going to approve that email and it's not going to go out. So how can you make things shorter? How can you make it more impactful? But most importantly, how can you decide when is an email the right thing to do versus what you were saying of a video or a post or anything else that you could possibly do in the organization based on your tactics and your strategy?
Yeah. And we've spoken a lot on the podcast, and I know we definitely use it and you use it at Capgemini, of the ADL model. So we've got awareness, desire, interest, action, loyalty. We've got that whole journey. And reactive marketing sits in the action stage, doesn't it? They want to send out one email and get thousands upon thousands, especially in your case. For those of you that don't know, I think there are over 300,000 employees at Capgemini now. Like,
that's right.
Emma's got a big old target audience. So they're looking at just that action stage, aren't they? I want to send an email and I want people to go do the learning.
Yeah.
Proactive marketing is obviously much more about that entire journey, raising the awareness, piquing the interest, making people want to get involved. Was that a challenge, getting people to realise that not every single piece of comms or marketing that goes out needs to be hey, go to the LMS right now?
It's still a challenge. And I think it will continue to be a challenge for all the reasons we've mentioned, people want results right now. And they don't necessarily see that those awareness building or loyalty creating campaigns or tactics are going to make big change, because it falls down into the proactive marketing, and people aren't used to that. If you look at McDonald's, I know you love talking about McDonald's. I know you're going out for dinner later, but it probably won't
Not
be
to
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
We're talking about McDonald's for a bit. But if you look at McDonald's and what they do, right? So they have promotions on their products. And their products are the actions, the come and get me, come and buy me, you want to eat me. Then they also have the desire stuff and the awareness and the interest things, because it's like the Monopoly campaign that they did, Oh my God, my son, anytime we drove past a McDonald's, Mum, can we go into McDonald's and can we go and get a Diet Coke so that I can get another, Monopoly card or whatever? Actually, it wasn't a Diet Coke. Who am I kidding? It was McFlurry.
I was literally like, wait, a Diet Coke? That's very
And it
healthy.
had to be a full-size McFlurry because the little McFlurries don't have them on, So it's like, how are they building that desire and that loyalty by doing things that are not about a particular product? That's about just come and have fun in our stores.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have the overarching branding campaigns, the waggle of the eyebrows or the little whistle or whatever it is, where you hear something, you see something, and it resonates in your head. And that's all about that awareness and interest level. So if you look at someone like McDonald's that's applying the awareness and interest campaigns, they have loyalty and desire campaigns, and they have the action-based tactics where they're, the typical come and buy a Big Mac. That's what we need to be applying for a learning organization.
Yeah.
And that's how you can really drive change and build impact when it comes to a brand,
Yeah, absolutely. I love that example. I often talk about Apple and the difference between, hey, look, here's the shiny new iPhone, you must go buy it now. And the people in store even that are like, it won't crack if you drop it because it's made out of titanium. Don't understand that, but hey ho. But they've got all those really tactical, come and buy me. I'm selling you this product. But they've got, most of their marketing is brand marketing. It's the status of having an Apple device. It's the status of having an iPhone. L&D need to adopt that mindset if they want real impact. It's
about balance. It really is about balance. And you can't just constantly push learning on people. I know you've said it before. I know I've said it before, but people don't want to learn. We are so busy, so how do we make people want to learn? And we can't do that by building pathways where we're wanting people to go through something really quickly and mark something as complete. We have to see that people see the benefit for it and that they can feel like they're contributing to that continual learning culture. If you look at what we need to be doing as an organization, it's not just based around trying to get those completions, but it is about that competencies, but also driving that learning culture where we're enabling our employees to learn. And fundamentally, it's like your own project, If you were going to come up with a project to develop yourself, the first thing you want to do is look at your areas of development that you need to work on and go and develop them. But in an organization where they're, no, you must churn out everything as fast as you can, as much as you can, without spending that time to learn. So how do we change that mindset? And you're never going to change that mindset unless you have these brilliant campaigns around learning that makes it attractive.
Yeah. And I think as well, something I've been thinking about quite a lot recently is the marketing mindset helps with learning transfer. It helps with that long-term behavioral change, because I don't know about you or anyone listening, if you think about the last time you bought something that was expensive, let's be honest, time is more important to people than money these days.
Yeah.
And we are asking a lot of our audience, asking them to give up their time to come and do our learning, the thing that we want them to do. So they're spending a lot of money with us, so to speak. If you recently bought, I don't know, I recently bought an iPad. Ash recently bought me an iPad. Thank you, Ashley. But I have had a lot of emails and marketing from Apple being like, you can do this with your iPad, you can do that. Have you looked at this? Have you activated that? They're keeping me engaged. They're making me remember, hey, I've got this shiny new toy that I want to play with. They're keeping me hooked.
Mhm.
We can do that in learning too. That is
Absolutely.
hey, you completed this program. Have you thought about this?
But there's more.
Have
Yeah.
you applied this? What about that? Share your experience. Novel idea, get them to do the marketing for you. Share their experience. You've got user generated content. It works. And marketing does straddle. And I think that's a big mindset that I would like to see change in L&D. Marketing straddles the entire learning process. It is not a bolt on at the end. And if you stop thinking of it as a bolt on, that's when you're going to get the big impact change.
Massively. And I think if there's one thing that anybody can remember is if somebody comes to you with a can you just, it needs to flick a switch in your head that you know that that is a reactive request.
Yeah.
So what else can you do instead? You know, and that's going to be the biggest change that anybody could make. It's something so simple, but can you just send an email? Can you just go and do this for me? Can you just write a deck? All of that stuff has to stop, and we've got to start approaching it with how can we affect change with our employees right from the get-go, based on building awareness, going through the interest, desire, action, loyalty. And it's as simple as that.
Absolutely. So we've spoken a lot about how it's going to make a change.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share any of your big wins with us? Because I know as you said, you've been on this process for a couple of years now, and I know you've had some great impact with some of the stuff you've done at Capgemini. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, massively. So it's amazing. It's been such a brilliant journey, you know, and I look at this with pride and with a lot of fondness. But, you know, I go back a couple of years and it was full of the can you justs. We were being excluded out of the product development process, and we were being put in right at the end with we need a comms plan, we need emails, we need all of this stuff. And you've got to spend, you know, what some people have spent 3 or 6 months developing and getting set in their heads. You've got to spend that in like a week to understand everything that they're going through, to come up with one email that's not even going to make any difference anyway, you know. So it was so demotivating. And then you turn that around to where we are today, and we are a massive technology company. You know, we are currently going through probably one of the biggest transformations our industry has ever seen when it comes to generative AI. And I know that you guys have spoken about generative AI in learning. I have my opinions on that, and I am going to share those with you one day. But I know that, you know, for generative AI for our company, it is absolutely massive. And we're on the precipice of something huge. So how do we upskill and reskill our organization into that is one of the biggest priorities we have right now. But it also is one of those ones where we've had to react so quickly to such a fundamental change. So straight away, we had to think about creating this acceleration team where we've got this, you know, our project lead, our project manager, our marketeer brilliantly in there, and our LX designers creating this thing together. And they've been on a journey together. And it's been great because, of course, we got you on board. I wanted to make sure it was done properly, you know?
Yeah, and just adding in there, that was a reactive thing that your business had to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Marketing was still proactive.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
still, don't be wrong, there was a little bit of push and pull on how quickly we could get stuff done. And I think what we got ourselves like an extra 2 or 3 weeks to make sure our marketing was ready. And we are still creating marketing assets. I say we, the royal we, it's all your team now, are still creating the assets that are going out. But the plan, the strategy, it was proactive. We know what we're doing and it's working. So as much as the product might be reactive, that doesn't mean your marketing for learning has to be.
No, it was right from the get-go, right from the identification that we have a need. And it didn't matter that we had a need that had to be turned around so quickly. Like you said, it was utterly reactive. From the absolute instance of saying we are going to set up a team, marketing was in there. Marketing went through that process together. And that enabled us to have that proactive approach. we were able to learn about the challenges in the organization, the reasons why we're doing it, how are our personas going to be linking into this? What can we do to really create that interesting hook? But also, we were lucky. This is one of our top priorities, and we had budget that we could say, right, I want to make sure I'm doing this right, and I'm going to get you on board. So that we could really bring in that strategic mindset that we needed. But even if we didn't, all of that foundation was still in place. Having that person right from the get-go and being able to sit with that project team to understand how this process flow was working, but also when they're in the stage of developing the product and doing the design and build, the marketeer can be sitting there designing and building their strategy. And that is the most crucial thing, because it meant that by the time we got to 2 or 3 weeks before launch, instead of doing the typical traditional thing that we would do a couple of years ago, where the project team would come to us and go, right, we're almost ready to launch, go do your stuff. And we'd sit there going, what the hell is this? I've got no idea. All the way through that development process, we were developing our own strategy. And that meant that we were ready, we were prepared, and it's been showing in the figures, and that's the most exciting thing. And I know, or I hope she's going to listen, but the person on our team who's been working on this, I am like beyond proud. I am bursting with pride with the results that she's seeing, because of the marketing that we're adapting, and because of this proactive mindset of, instead of just sending one email, which we know was going to be the solution at one point, instead of doing that, we're able to really drive big change. And seeing where that's going to go next is exciting.
And talking kind of on behalf of the person in your team, I don't really want to do that, but I'm going to say it. Good. I know having the agreed marketing strategy, so we got buy-in from the whole project team on that marketing strategy, it has enabled her to push back on the can you just.
Massively.
It's not in the plan. It's not in part of the strategy. Why? And I've said to her, absolutely, there might be, especially, like you said, it's Gen AI. This thing's changing massively as the months go on. There might be a case of having to deviate and edit and tweak the strategy, but it needs to be a real sound case of why we do that. Not for a can you just because so-and-so wants an extra email. That's not going to cut it. That's not in the strategy. So I think that's also another vote for the proactive stuff. Having your plan, having everyone go, yeah, this is what we're doing, and then trusting it. And like you said, it's showing in the figures. Like, I'm blown away by how well it's worked. And I've been doing this marketing for learning thing quite a while now. It's working really, really well. And it's working so much better than an ad hoc email would have ever worked.
Massively. And I think being able to, like you said, being able to revisit that strategy. It's not saying the strategy isn't going to change or evolve, but it's having that backbone of a project that you can keep on revisiting and thinking, okay, we now have this need. How does that fit into the strategy? How am I going to play that? It just helps you to organize your thoughts and organize your actions in a way that's going to make a change, versus that constant chasing your own tail, or like a hamster constantly going around in a wheel, just pinging out email after email after email without any real result. The backbone of that strategy is the thing that's going to drive that campaign forward, and seeing the results and the impact that it's having so far is massive. And yes, part of that is we've got a great product. Part of that is it is one of the biggest priorities in the group. But so much of that wouldn't be there if we hadn't put the backbone of that strategy and that marketing campaign in place, because otherwise, how do people know about it? Absolutely. How do we drive that awareness and that interest?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think actually, just like reflecting on it while we're talking now, I almost feel like the proactive marketing was even more important because it was a reactive project, because don't get me wrong, I've seen the outputs. It's all incredible. You've got a wonderful team there. It's working really well. And like you said, you've got a great product, but people can start feeling itchy. And it's like, oh no, we needed to do this yesterday. So, and the panic, and that panic will manifest and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, like you said, you end up with even more emails and you end up on like a hamster's wheel. But having the proactive marketing say, no, we trust in the process, and almost the marketing being that calm presence of, no, we're doing this and we're doing this right and we're doing it properly, has put other people at ease as well. It's
Yeah,
definitely,
massively.
it's been a real, like you said, a backbone. It's been a support for that whole project to say, hey, look, and now we're what, a month or so in, aren't we?
Yep.
Now we're like, hey, look at the data. Told you it was going to work. And then we've got even more trust now because it's working. And like you said, that's an absolute credit to the marketer and your team that's leading the charge there.
Massively. And I think that that's the, coming back full circle, that's the exciting thing about this, is because you've got that success case. We've got this one instance now where we're able to say, see, we told you so. And that goes back into the beginning, when we're talking about that mindset change in the organization. By knowing that this works and now having the figures that backs that up enables us to carry on doing it time and time and time again. And as I said at the beginning, it's not an easy process, but it's about having that commitment and celebrating those small wins to drive the mindset change of the organization. And it only starts just with that commitment and that belief that you can make a change. Doesn't matter how big or small it is.
No, and you need to have the right people around you. We're lucky, aren't we?
Very
I'm
lucky.
definitely lucky with doing what I do, but you're lucky you've got a great leadership team and like people that trust in you. But we can all run experiments and try to do something marginally better, even if that is writing an email in a more effective way, putting on your
Yep.
marketer's hat, writing that email better, and then going, hey, look, I did this different and it worked. So then maybe next time you can do an email and a video and a social post, and gradually build up to that point of, hey, look, no, we're actually going to do a full-blown marketing campaign here because we know it works.
I agree.
It's having the evidence and running those experiments and having the confidence to do it as well.
Oh, massively. I've said it before, but fail gloriously, and you might as well try. What's going to happen if you don't? You're either going to stay stagnant doing nothing, or you can make a change, try and see what happens. And if it fails, fine, try something else. We're in a learning organization. We should be the people that are happy to try and fail and learn from it and try again. But make those small changes because they do start to add up. So start with the changing that mindset away from a marcoms department into marketing mindset and marketing thinking, responding and challenging the can you justs, and that very quick reactive marketing, and then start building up your tactics really simply based on what products do you want to promote, how do you want to push your brand and the awareness and the desire of your employees to come and do some learning. And then how do you promote that into a strategy that's going to make a change in your organization for your employees?
Yeah.
That's the exciting thing, but it starts small and you just get bigger and bigger.
And there's something that you've mentioned a couple of times in this podcast, and I want to get your opinion on how important it is. You mentioned your learning brand. How important do you think a learning brand is to the success of what you're doing at Capgemini?
It's everything, I think. If you look at an organization, any organization at the moment, we know that talent is so hard to come by, and it's even harder to retain. Learning is one of the top talent attractors in the industry. So knowing that an organization has a learning function that is proactive and that is supporting the employee is something that's not only going to attract your employees to come and, potential employees to come and join your organization, it's also going to help keep them there. We do a lot of work on data, and we are able to prove with our data that people who learn, we have lower attrition on them. We therefore have higher retention in the right numbers, and we also have higher promotion rates. Those are some amazing stories there. But what's the point of having those amazing stories unless you talk about them? So we need to be able to say, actually, do you know what? Capgemini is a great place to work. But not only is it a great place to work, it's a great place to work because we support you to grow and develop and be successful, to go and get the career that you want, to go and do whatever it is that you want to do. You're never going to do that if you're just talking about a compliance module, or if you're talking about going to the LMS to go and take this course or do whatever. These are big topics that help to pull your employees into your learning ecosystem. And you're never going to get that by pushing products.
Yeah.
So for me, it's that balance again between that push and that pull. And talking about your own learning brand is possibly more important than actually talking about a learning product itself, because it's going to drive your employees to come and discover more. And the one thing, within all of this as well is I don't talk about our learners.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's really important that we have employees.
Mm-hmm.
Employees, I want to talk about not just the people who are actively learning with us, but the employees who haven't discovered us yet. There aren't very many in Capgemini, I've got to be said. I'm looking at the data this morning, and a lot of people have visited our LMS platform. But, we know we've got to talk to these people as people, and we have to pull on their desires. And development is up there with pay, with flexibility to work from home, with all of the other benefits that we have. We know that learning is up there. So it's time that we start to celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just for Capgemini and your data. It's in all of the reports now, isn't it? That learning is, and development opportunities and things like that are just as important as pay, as flexible working and things like that. So like you said, it's time to celebrate that. And we do that through our learning brands. That's the only way we can do that. And like we've said on this podcast many, many times, a brand isn't necessarily a logo or a name or a color scheme. It's what people think of when they think of you. So take control of that, whether your internal comms lets you have a brand and a logo and all of that or not. You can still control your learning brand. It's
a culture, and it's a mindset, and it's an ethos that you can get behind and celebrate. And I think that's that's something to believe in. And if you believe in your learning in your organization, then that means that you believe in your learning brand in an organization. So you need to talk about that just as much as you do any other offer that you celebrate.
Absolutely. And I think, again, marketers need to be the people that believe in it and champion and brand as much as we're championing our audiences. We need to be the fangirl of the whole team. I always say, like, if you think about a marketer in any organization, they're the ones that are raving the most about the product. Probably in the most believable way, let's be honest, because sometimes sales, you can see straight through it, can't you? But the marketers love it. They're there, they're championing the brand, they're championing the products, they're championing the audience. And that's what an L&D that wants to adopt marketing for learning need to start thinking about.
Totally agree with you.
What a wonderful chat, Em. I knew this was going to be great. Well, we can't talk all day as much as we'd like to. We've both got actual work to do. I am certain that we'll have you back on the podcast again at some point. Not least to talk about that Gen AI stuff. I do love a little insight here. Emma voice noted me straight away and was like, there's loads of ways you can use Gen AI in learning.
I know, Ashley, if you're listening to this, I am going to come and talk to you about that, because it's probably the one area where I went, no, I don't agree with you. And that's never happened before.
I feel like I'm marginally learning, but there's so much to learn. So we'll definitely have you on to talk about that. And I'm sure many other things. But thank you so much for coming on the pod, Em.
Thanks for having me.
And if anybody else listening wants to get involved, wants to come on an episode, wants to talk to us about anything, please do reach out. We're more than happy to have guests on the podcast. And if you've got any questions, queries for myself or Emma, you can find us both on LinkedIn. And if not, I guess I'll catch you on the next podcast, guys. Bye.